dominantly trust.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, there
I
you
think,
go.
yeah. Anyway, so
There's.
so so before we
I
go
think Landon's
live,
trying
it's
to kink
important.
shame right now.
I don't know.
What?
I think it, but at least, yeah. Let's get this on the street. I'm not into the dominance type stuff. That's not my thing.
Oh,
But
okay. Landon's
before
a
we go
sub.
live,
Got it.
yeah,
Got it. Landon's a sub.
I
Everybody.
do, I do support Mistress Scambait. However,
He's trying to kink shame right now.
um, that's a. I don't know if you know who that is, but she does
I don't.
scam and her meme is she's a mistress that runs a dungeon.
Oh, okay. But she doesn't actually.
No, I don't think so. That's her shtick, right? And she's working with people who are doing things like public clearinghouse scamming, scammers in scam baiting folks.
Well, I say because she could do both. Like
Baiting?
you're allowed to scam
It's
bait
possible. It
and
is quite
also
possible.
run.
Yeah,
uh,
it, I do think that she's actually very good in playing the part, so it could be the case.
Maybe she's got
Yeah.
actual real world practice.
Yeah. So let us know when we're live because we want to be sure we plan for act before.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't want to
I'll let you
violate
know.
any terms of service or anything.
Yeah, I'll let you guys. I'll let you guys know. It should be like give about 10 seconds and we should be live.
Okay.
Background stuff. Background stuff. Sorry, I'm just setting up all the. Right now, the chat was about to show up right over top of Landon's face,
Yeah.
and that would have been no good. Okay, ready?
No, we don't.
Three,
Want
two,
All right.
one. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Unnamed Tavern. We are here. Maanyaa is a face right now because she's running a little bit late. We will probably actually hear her come in before we see her because I just made it. I left her audio on, but that's just the face now. So if
Nice.
Maanya's running a little bit late, that's what that is. I am Chesh. I am your host, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I've got with me Dapper and
Yay.
Landon. Guys, how you doing?
Oh, I have no idea what time of day it is because after this past week and a half or so, my entire sleep cycle is shot. But
Say
hey,
all that drinking.
yeah, that's a big part of it there, Chesh.
Well, in
Say that
terms
like
of
it's
what
my
time
fault.
of day it is, it depends on your time zone and latitude because traditionally morning is from twilight to noon. Noon is the hour of noon at your meridian, and then afternoon is after that to the sunset twilight, and then it's evening and the rest of it. So the morning, afternoon, evening depends upon your time zone, longitude-wise, and your latitude. Which, for example, the people in Antarctica are currently in the daytime, um, and they're in the afternoon.
Sounds to me like Landon does not ascribe to flat Earth.
um, but I do like. I think the image that is of Maanyaa is probably a result of her having getting too close to a neutron star, where there's been some spatial collapse,
A
perhaps.
little bit of spatial collapse. She lost her nose.
There you go.
Someone's got her nose.
And apparently, it's a neutron star.
All right,
Yes.
so we've got a lot of topics to cover today. For anybody who hasn't read the description, please read the description. All of the links for everything that we're going to talk about and that's going to get shown on screen is there, so you can find reference to everything that we talk about. And that's a lot of work, so I'd really appreciate it if you actually go and look this stuff up for yourself and not just listen to us, because what the hell do we know? I mean, Landon knows things, and Dapper knows things, but Maanyaa knows things.
Sometimes.
It's just
And,
me. It's just me.
and Chesh, so Chesh, what are you drinking?
I got a Tim Hortons cup.
Yay, Timmy Cup.
I got
Is it a
Tim.
double?
No, I don't drink very much coffee really ever at all. So it's actually it's no longer what Tim's made. I drank that already, and then I just refilled it and just
Ah,
used the same thing because I like to recycle.
ah.
So
Well,
I
fun fact.
Reuse.
just
That's
made it
part
real
of the
quick.
reuse.
Reuse.
The
Reduce, reuse,
the
recycle.
double
That's in the
double,
reuse
which
section.
refers to shots of cream and sugar,
Yeah.
are independent of the size. So if you get a double double
Yes.
small, it'll be more concentrated than a double double large.
Correct. The shot
Hmm.
sizes of the amount of sugar and the amount of cream and or milk you get will always be the same, so you kind of have to, measure that out for yourself about what you like. This is a medium for anybody who cares about the size of the cup, if I recall correctly.
Is that a
Imagine a
medium?
place where you can buy coffee that just uses normal terms.
Well, I mean, Tim's uses its normal terms, but there's just like slang that everybody uses. Like they don't
That's
require you to say double double. They just
No,
say,
I just mean for the sizes. Imagine actually having a place
"Oh,
that serves coffee, and you can just go in and order a medium, and they hand you a medium-sized cup
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah."
I I
The
I I
instead of
concept.
being
I
snooty
heard
about it.
someone say quad small.
Oh my God,
Um,
Maanyaa, that's
like
worse.
It's Maanyaa.
That's worse.
It's Maanya's microphone,
Hey!
Jesus.
hello,
everybody.
Maanyaa.
Hi, Manya's
You're the black
microphone.
hole.
What
Oh.
happened? What did I do? Is my microphone okay or not?
No,
Oh,
you're
okay.
good to go. It was just right in your face. It was like,
It was like the black hole of
Oh, by the way, Merry Christmas to everyone for whom this is Christmas Day, which is a non-zero portion of the world's population. There's actually several tens of millions of people for whom this is Christmas Day. So Merry Christmas if you're one of those people.
Oh, okay.
So,
yay, holidays for
there you go.
everybody.
yes.
We got a super chat from Vandalia for 2 said, I know very little and I can admit that. And it's like, yeah, you know what? We all
Hey,
have our things.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
Sorry.
know that there are Easter eggs in the background of the Unnamed Tavern.
there are. It's true. Tell me if you can spot them all,
See if you can
everybody.
spot.
And we're going to be adding them as we
It's-
go. You might notice that things
it's
do look a little
Christmas,
bit...
not Easter.
You also might notice that things do look a little bit different in here. We do have a little bit more of a solidified layout now. And if you do notice some blank space up there while we're talking, don't worry. Part of that is just for the sake of videos, which will be coming out later. So if you do not have time or only care about a specific topic, not only will there be chapters added to this once we're done, there will also be shorter snipped videos of kind of like condensed version of the entire of the stream and or each topic. I
Excellent.
was editing the Elon Musk one from our very first one, and it's an hour long. We talked about Elon Musk for an hour. I could not
Really? We
believe
gave that
it.
Dear.
guy 1 hour of our time? Seriously?
Well, and we kept
Yeah.
bringing him up too. It was terrible.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
What we're planning
So-
on talking about
so-
today is already listed down below. However, we do have a we do have a audience vote. So there is currently a poll that's available in the chat. If you are here and able to, you can vote on either talking about Jordan Peterson and Pierre. For anybody who doesn't know who Pierre is currently the party leader for the Conservative Party in Canada, and they're like, I don't know, canoodling, I guess would be the word. And
Interesting choice
I
of
like
word.
that word.
Okay.
Yes.
And the other option is to talk about Trump and his $250 million lawsuit.
Oof.
So you can vote. Let me know which one you guys want to talk about. We are prepared for both. Go ahead, Landon.
And I'm drinking. Start off with a Bengal spice tea spiced with some apple brandy, and if necessary, I can go to this atomic pumpkin, Voodoo Ranger ale there, and then I can move to a Costa Brown Pinot Noir. So
Oh, very
I'm
nice.
prepared.
We also have.
And if
we... Go ahead, Landon.
And saying if it gets really long, I can start making pizza.
Oh my God.
Hey.
I hope we don't go that long. Welcome for everybody who is joining us today. And you know what? I'm happy to be here. I'm glad we get to do these ones. However, you guys are lucky. This is going to be Maanya's last day with us for a little while, maybe forever. Oh God.
Let's hope not. Not forever. Let's hope not.
We hope not.
She is
Maanyaa,
planning
you are
to
ordered
boop
to come back.
black holes, having
Yeah.
done booped neutron stars, and time dilation might do strange things upon her return, but we'll see.
I have to
I
say
might
that
be 2,000 years old when I come back.
no, what's gonna happen is Maanya's gonna leave, have a break from the internet, and not want to come back.
Oh.
Then we're
Yeah,
gonna
that would
bully
make
her.
sense.
Yep.
And Shesh will be like, hey, Maanyaa, when we're doing the Dump Fact Friday. Yeah, soon.
She's just gonna leave
Which
me on
Friday?
forever. Oh, my heart. All right, well, let's get started. Oh, sorry, before we do that, if you notice the cube going on in the bottom left, if you're watching, bottom right of of us. Why would I say that? Your left there's a cube going on down
Stage
there.
left?
Stage left? Anyway, there's a cube down over there, and it's basically got channel-friendly channels. So anybody who I engage with to some degree, or one of our panel members engages with to some degree, and actually one of them is one of our panel members, Zapper is down there, and it's where you can find them and what
Yay.
they're about. So it will have like a little YouTube or a little Twitch, because there are some Twitch people in there. Some of it's D&D, some of it's science, some of it's like all kinds of other stuff. So definitely check those guys out if you get time. There's also this little thing down here, which is this, the like, comment, subscribe, and share, and all that good stuff. Make sure if you do learn something, share the video. And then, of course, we have our lovely chat right front and center. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready.
As
We
much as
are
we can
ready
be.
Well,
to rumble.
I'm not going to be getting more ready anytime soon, so we might as well go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Our first popcorn topic of today is Logan Paul and CoffeeZilla.
Oh boy.
I was like,
Okay, hear me out. Hear
So-
me out. Hear me out. Why does this count as news? Okay.
Yes.
So that's
there are
yeah, that's a good
several
question, because
reasons
technically a
why.
lot of this went down a long time ago.
Yes, this has been ongoing.
It has been over a year in the making. Let's just say that. And it finally culminated into Logan Paul taking an L, as they say in the Urban Dictionary slang.
That's
So-
putting it mildly.
So,
I think it's
go ahead.
it's kind of like, it's significant also because it's about time that, like, YouTube personalities like Logan Paul are held responsible for what they do in the
Yeah.
space of cryptocurrency and NFTs. It's about
Should we-
time.
Should we give a TLDR in case people don't know?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
What this is?
basically,
Okay.
the reason why this is news is because, one, there's a lot of legal implications. Two, there's a lot of social implications. And three, there's a lot of, like, just actual crime involved in the situation. So,
Allegedly.
Potential.
I mean, by crime, I mean actual people who have committed crimes in the past.
Yes.
Yeah. So, basically,
Criminals then?
yes.
Ding doink.
Yeah.
I'm not saying for certain that Logan Paul is a scammer. I'm not
But
saying
maybe.
However, I'm just saying that if I had to find someone who was acting and had been acting like a scammer recently, he would be on the list.
Recently. Okay, so basically what we have is Logan Paul had put together and was advertising and marketing a game called what was it?
Call it that.
Crypto Zoo. What was it called?
Crypto
Crypto
Crypto. It
It's
was
called
Crypto
Crypto
Zoo.
Zoo.
Crypto Zoo, and it was basically like an NFT bunch of nonsense. It was NFTs and cryptocurrency, so you know it's like
Yeah.
great start.
Oh, God.
Eventually, somebody named CoffeeZilla, who we've talked about before, who is known on the internet for covering crypto scams, he did call out FTX before that one happened. I believe Maanyaa brought that up on our first tavern when we were talking about that.
Mhm.
And he decided to cover Crypto Zoo and Logan Paul, and he started kind of pulling at these threads and just found more and more and more, and ended up with it took him, 1 year, 2 years of research, and then came out with a 3-part series, which was very good and very thorough. It basically told us who were the actors, who Logan Paul had hired, showed that he had reached out and talked to Jeff, who is Logan Paul's manager, was never able to talk to, and attempted to talk to Logan Paul, but wasn't able to. And basically just exposed this whole thing as there was a bunch of money went missing, people never got the product they were promised, etc., etc., etc. Now, this one's still a little bit ongoing because Logan, as you can see here, CoffeeZilla, Logan made a response to this 3-part series with a 7-minute video. Needless
God.
to say, it didn't address anything. It didn't go over well. All it really did was throw shade on one of the people that got scammed, and the programmer who
Yeah.
Logan hired. He's like, Logan basically said that this guy is a criminal. He was arrested for this, this, and this, and this is the guy you're using to try to discredit me. So it's a complete non sequitur because it's like it doesn't matter what this guy did or did not do. Did you scam him? Yes, no. Did he do work for you and did you pay him? Yes, no. He doesn't address any of these things. So he has now taken that video down, and because CoffeeZilla was going to respond to it and then didn't because he says, Logan called me, he said he's deleting the 2 responses and dropping the lawsuit threats because he was also saying he was going to sue him, because of course he was.
Yeah.
I believe he's making a 3rd response, which I'll be delaying my video to include. Hopefully this time he takes accountability and refunds the victims of CryptoZoo. That's what matters. Then we can see here Logan's response. His response was rash and misaligned with the true issue. He's going to be taking accountability, apologizing, and coming forward with a plan. And as you can see here, a Discord message about it that says, hey, y'all, just wanted to update you. I deleted my initial response to Coffee's series. It was rash and misaligned with the true issue at hand. So I called him today and apologized. The war is not with Coffee. In fact, I'm grateful he brought this to light. I will be taking accountability, apologizing, and coming forward with a plan in the near future. Thank you all for believing in this project and sticking with me. I know it's been bumpy, but your support is everything to me, and I will make this right. He's got a CryptoZoo egg emote. God damn it. All right.
My thing is...
So, go. Take it away.
All right. So, the thing is that it's been a year. You started a project and you still haven't delivered it. Okay. Things pop up. His first excuse was that there was a lot of criminal investigation that was happening in the background. But you had a duty of care towards your investors. They are your investors. They are your bread and butter. You know what happens when you invest in a company? There's a board of directors that give their investors regular feedback of what's going on with the company. Where are the profits? Where are the projects at? What's the timeline of the projects? That's how a good project or a company works. And that's what my problem is with all these influencers who start these NFTs and crypto schemes. They have no fucking idea what they're doing. They have no knowledge. They have not made any attempts to gain any knowledge about these areas. And then they hire people I guess they have no fucking clue who they are. Thinking, oh yeah, just because they make claims, yeah, they're fine. And then they get into these schemes and then just like take their followers money and then just run with it. And before you know, it crashes and burns and they move on to the next thing. With Logan Paul, however, there's a track and there's a trend of doing these things. In past, including Ding Doing, he has done 2 more similar schemes where he has rug pulled them. Now, rug pulling is you hyper promote something so that the price goes up, and in the background you buy that entity yourself. So when you're hyping it up, the price is high, you sell it in that moment, and then as soon as you get your cut, you're out of there. You stop promoting it, you don't talk about it, and then the price slowly comes down for that entity. And he has done that in the past with 2 more projects. So it's not like he's not familiar with how cryptocurrency or NFTs work. He knows how they work. And for him to come up again with another project and to fail and then to say, oh, sorry guys, I'm going to take responsibility, I don't believe him. I don't fucking believe him. I think so in another year we are going to be at the same spot and nothing, the train would be stuck on the same track at the same point. We would be nowhere, none the wiser. So I don't believe him one bit. So yeah, if people still want to believe him, and because I've heard some people have invested around $500,000, $500,000 into this moronic project.
In some ways, it's. Oh, sorry.
Go on, please go.
In some ways, it's even worse than just a typical rug pull. In a typical rug pull, right? Yeah, you have these now devalued assets that, like, okay, what are you going to do with them? But at least the asset is generally what you signed up for. Because usually it's like, oh, you signed up for getting, like, a shitty AI-created, like, JPEG. And that was going to be valuable because you're an idiot. But this was supposed to be like a game with a function, right? So what's supposed to happen, according to the game plan that Logan laid out, is you buy this egg. The egg is going to hatch into an animal, and then you can use the animals to breed other animals to get different eggs, and eggs will yield you this daily automatic return in the cryptocurrency used in the game for in-game currency, which you can then use to either cash out for real money, or you can turn that in to get more eggs and whatnot. The thing is, the eggs neither hatch nor yield passive crypto returns. So you're not even getting the actual thing he sold you. At least if you buy into some stupid NFT JPEG rug pull, you get the link to the JPEG that you paid for, which I don't know why you think that's valuable, but at least you have it. Technically, that contract's been fulfilled. But with Logan Paul, nope. Even the basic level function that was promised to you for your NFT egg, not available.
Yeah, and the audacity of this guy is he stealthily released the project without telling his followers or people who invested in it, and bought all the stock or whatever you say, the cryptocurrency. Again, planning to, I don't know whether he was planning to rug pull or not, again, so that he could profit off when he officially releases it to his fans and his investors. So when they're buying the cryptocurrency, they're actually buying it from him. So
Well,
he is profiting off it.
He's still presenting it as if it's coming out, too.
Yeah, one, it's coming out, and number two, he has not acknowledged the sneaky things that he has done in the background. The buying the currency in advance, stealthily releasing the project without telling his investors and his followers, so that when they're actually buying it, they're buying it from him. Right? Yeah. And then he had the audacity to abandon this project and move on to a new one. A new project, a new NFT project. He was planning to do that. There are witnesses who said that he was planning to do that, who heard him, who are when they had a conversation with him.
The three
things. So my thing is, he made that statement. I think so. That statement in the Discord came from his lawyer. His lawyer
definitely
was,
"What the
fuck is wrong with you?"
Yeah.
And he didn't talk to his lawyer before he made that video on YouTube, by the way. I think so. It was after that video. His lawyer was be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Can we talk about the problem with his manager for a second as well? Like, his manager, Jeff, is just either completely garbage at his job or just exists as a fall guy for Logan to not have to take responsibility for anything.
He just exists as a buffer for Logan to fall back on, like you said, the fall guy.
Yeah.
Like, if something goes wrong, it's like, oh, it's his fault.
So I don't
That's the guy who
keep a whole lot of track of Logan Paul.
Indirectly threatened CoffeeZilla that, oh yeah, you should report facts or else you might get sued.
Yeah, that was the one who was giving the totally not a legal threat to not report, even though he wasn't willing to actually offer Logan's side of the story, despite also being Logan Paul's lawyer, apparently, or something.
Yeah,
that was a whole bunch of nonsense.
Well, and apparently Jeff never even told Logan that CoffeeZilla was trying to reach out for him about this, allegedly.
Oh, of course.
I don't believe it. Well, that's speculation on my part, I guess. But it's also like...
Well, that's what they're saying, right?
He didn't even offer CoffeeZilla, like, okay, hold on. I don't know what you're talking about. If you give me the questions, let me go back to Logan and come back to you. Like, this is how a manager should behave. He didn't even do that. He just straight up went and started, like, threatening him. I'm gonna sue you, bitch. And CoffeeZilla was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Having an NFT stacked on top of a cryptocurrency, it all put inside of, like, what could, interestingly enough, is shaped like a pyramid.
A quote-unquote game.
I don't know.
Very complex. It's a very complex economical environment or ecosystem.
See, Chess, what you don't understand is that the crypto blockchain technology... Okay, sorry.
So my opinion in general is that cryptocurrency at best is a economic tool or vehicle whose risk far exceeds the expected rate of return. That's at best, and usually comes into the level of pump and dump scams and other sort of things. It's bad. It's a bad currency. It's bad. It's a bad use of cryptography. It's an inefficient system, and so I highly recommend people not get involved in crypto, and also throw the NFTs in the same sort of bucket of craziness. But that's my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I
Not be
definitely
tend
taken
to agree.
as financial
nightmare.
advice.
Absolute nightmare.
Sometimes people will say crypto is a scam, and I think that's a bit too broad because
Yep.
I mean, crypto is a technology. People do use it in non-scam ways, right? That's a thing that you can do. However, it's so easy lends itself to scams that, like,
Yeah.
if you're involved in the crypto market, there's a fair chance you're
Well,
being scammed.
yeah, we've talked about crypto before, and so basically, I think our conclusion was crypto can't exist and isn't worthwhile as it exists currently. Is there hope for it in the future? Maybe with some restructuring.
Yeah. And it's sad from the language, but the word crypto refers to things, I believe, that are somewhere between dodging and a scam, as opposed to what originally was, which is a short term for photography. And that's an ironic thing because it's really bad, in my opinion, bad use of cryptography, unscalable economic stuff, and unregulated collections of craziness. So NFTs technically are sort of a blockchain attempt to try and deal with some so-called digital ownership. Just if you're going to do that, just go after Trump's little stuff, which apparently is I don't know how well it's doing, but I'm sure it's one of those other delightful things in this world of Bitcoin and NFT stuff that's
well, at the end of
sad.
the day, I think the three things that Logan is going to be remembered for is going to be this crypto zoo nonsense, the
Dink
nonsense involved with Dink Doink, and the suicide forest.
Oh yeah.
Also, to be fair,
was he
kind of
involved
thing
in
to
that
be
thing?
remembered.
He was that thing.
Oh yeah.
Not even
Yeah,
involved. That was
that whole
just
thing was
I
him.
made a serious
Okay.
lapse of judgment. Fucking baka.
I just.
I'm also
Ew.
going
Oh
to
shit, did
remember
I
him
swear
for
in the
flat feet.
first minute of the video?
Oh yeah, he went to the Flat Earth convention.
Yeah,
Oh,
tricking the
really?
flat earthers into thinking he was a flat earther for that fake documentary was legitimately funny. I'm not going to pretend that I did not find that quite amusing.
It's because
I did. It's literally the only Logan Paul thing I ever enjoyed, but I did enjoy it.
I was sad that it was Logan Paul, but I did like the outfit that he chose for wrestling because he basically was like, "Yo, listen, Team Instinct," and I'm like, "Hell yeah! Why is this Logan Paul? Get out of my face!"
Yeah, like the one time Logan Paul is legitimately entertaining is when he's poking fun at the flat earthers.
Yeah,
Mostly
yeah.
because they themselves just make themselves so ridiculous. Like Rob Skiba is in that video just being Rob Skiba, the guy who, of course, he died of COVID-19 without having a vaccine, even though he had access to it.
Oh, of course.
All of that checks out.
All right, so Logan Paul should just go hang out with flat earthers, and I think that's the long and short of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
and
great.
it's not just these two like projects like CryptoZoo or the Ding Doing coin that he has been involved in. He has promoted other crypto projects which have failed or just disappeared into nothingness, like where they started with a value of 25 million and then just like went to like $100 or something like that within some time. So he is notorious for this. And I think it's about time people just stop giving him your money, for fuck's sake. He is
Well,
not
besides
competent.
like the questionable ethics about his marketing strategy to children.
Yeah. But I think so. But now what's happening
Yeah.
is his audience is growing up, and these are audiences who are adults who have money, and these are adults who care about their money. So it's just going to take one person who's going to like go like, okay, fuck this. Where's my money? And Logan Paul ends up in jail. He should realize this by now. But
Well, we'll have to see where this
here's the
goes and what
thing.
happens. Go ahead.
There's a potential that this whole thing with CryptoZoo could result in things like wire fraud charges. I'm not a lawyer. I'm certainly not a district attorney. However, many of the things that he's done, if it turns out that there was an intent to defraud, would then constitute wire fraud. And so it's not impossible that Logan Paul could see the inside of a prison cell for wire fraud and conspiracy to commit wire fraud.
Yeah,
I think
Because
the
if
thing
there's wire
is,
fraud,
you
then I
can
can guarantee
establish-
you.
non-zero chance.
I think you can establish the intent to do defraud because he bought he released the cryptozoa token without telling his investors and his audience and his fans, and then he bought it in the background.
Yeah.
The only
I'm-
problem what
It's
happened
tricky.
was he got scammed before he could scam his audience, I think. personally.
Yeah, maybe.
Look, like I said, not a lawyer. However, it sounds like what I hear when lawyers talk about things like wire fraud. And that maybe isn't a safe thing to be doing there, Logan.
I'm curious to see if
Not
Legal
that you're gonna watch
Eagle
this.
ends up covering something like this.
Oh, yeah.
Because it does seem like up his alley. But all right. So that's enough about Logan Paul. There's not a whole lot we can even talk about with it outside of this is what's happened so far. Maybe there will be some more stuff in the future. Careful where you spend your money.
Yeah.
Next one is
If it says pay to earn or play to earn, don't do it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not going to earn you any money.
Yeah. Next one is our long-lasting one. So we like to cover something popcorny at the beginning, then we move into something that's kind of a long-standing issue that probably will not cover a resolution in our lifetime. Well, maybe we will. Maybe we will.
Wait,
But today-
Speaker of the House?
No, that's
You said we'll
last.
come to.
We'll get there.
You just said won't come to a resolution in our lifetime, and it felt like that for a while.
Fair enough. All right. What we're going to talk about is Scottish independence.
Yay.
Ah,
So Landon brought this one up. So Landon, do you want to take us away on this?
Yes, we have a. I guess the other thing is it might suggest is that for those who don't know, Scotland is dominated politically by SNP, Scottish National Party, and SNP's one of their primary objectives is to have Scotland become independent of what I refer to as the former United Kingdom. I say former United Kingdom because I don't believe the United Kingdom, in my opinion, is united. And that United Kingdom typically includes the nation of Scotland, Wales, England, and the thing that's called Northern Ireland. And so Scotland has been, there are people in Scotland that have been pushing for independence. They did have a vote in the past that was defeated by 55% no, 40% yes in terms of asking for independence. And the statement S&P is that was prior to the whole debacle of things like Brexit and other sort of items, and that the promises S&P alleges the promises made to Scotland have not really panned out, and so they want to promote another independence resolution. There was a whole bunch of legal wrangling, and the High Court ruled that essentially Scotland could not unilaterally have an independence vote. And that didn't really settle the question, because essentially the push for independence is kind of independent of a particular vote. It's a larger scale thing. Now you can go into a whole history about Scotland and how it got entangled with England, but from a Westminster Parliament point of view, England is the big dominant player in terms of seats. And essentially, whatever the English part of the Parliament wants, they get, and they have so-called devolved powers to try to give the Scottish Parliament some powers, but they tend to sometimes take them away or abuse that thing on a regular basis. To be fair, one of the things that you find with the Scottish independence movement is that there is a whole mix of opinions in Scotland over this matter. But if you typically take a look now at the situation, the dominant thing amongst Scottish voters is inclined towards independence, which is why the Tory party has been trying to prevent it from occurring, because they don't like the potential outcome. Now, the original referendum that failed was one of those things. I guess it was David Cameron that put forward to sort of put things out to try to appease various factions, and Brexit was the other thing that they put out, expecting both of them to fail. Well, Brexit succeeded, changed the economic situation for Scotland, and so the majority of Scots want to remain with the EU. Majority of Scots actually would even prefer to use the euro as their currency, to set up a customs border at the so-called Hadrian's Wall, the boundary between England and Scotland, to be able to trade with Ireland freely across the Irish Sea, because Ireland is also part of Republic Ireland is part of the EU. And also, to be fair to some people, they might point out that traditionally the Scots complain about the English in the last couple of centuries, but in fact probably the worst enemy of Scots are the Scots themselves. And yet the other side of the coin, I think it's important to know, is that there is sadly a predominant held opinion in England that the Scots are incapable of governing themselves and should be grateful for the English giving them civilization. There is and to the point where you find some really overt racism, even amongst people that claim to be somehow enlightened. So Scotland has been voting for the SNP, has dominated the Scottish Parliament, has dominated the seats going to Westminster for quite a long time. I mean, huge dominance. There was a huge push towards the SNP and presumably they take that as a mandate to try to deliver independence. Whether or not, and so this particular interview is a question and answer between Sturgeon, who is the First Minister of Scotland, and a reporter from a newspaper that is particularly unionist, right? They're into the Union Jack and the whole nine yards, as I say. We might. I don't. Is there any other comments where we might want to listen to just that? It's a short Q&A, but I think I wanted to give you sort of backdrop for this.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot. What we're looking at in particular about it as well, or what prompted this one, is the current. So, what is the sitting? What minister, right? That's the title.
Yeah, First Minister. So she would be essentially if Scotland were an independent country, she would be the Prime Minister.
Right.
But instead, as dissolved Parliament, she's the leader of the Scottish Parliament, right? Not the thing that the English dominate in Westminster, but the thing they want to separate from.
So let's take a look and hear what she has to say on the matter.
First Minister, you have always said that a referendum must be lawful and legitimate. Do you now level with the Scottish people and accept that the de facto referendum you were proposing would not be lawful because the Supreme Court have ruled on legality, and would not be legitimate because the opposing side do not give their consent?
No, but if you've listened to everything I've said, a referendum is my preferred option for all the reasons I've set out. But if a referendum is blocked, there has to be another way for the Scottish people to have their say, make their voice heard, and make that decision. There is a mandate for that. An election cannot in any sense be described as unlawful. An election is
an election that is a referendum lawful. Could be, First Minister, because you've asked the question about the lawfulness and you've had your answer. So my question is very simple.
Well, it comes back.
Do you accept that a de facto referendum would not be lawful or legitimate?
No, I don't. Asking people a question in an election is entirely lawful and legitimate.
Well, not when it has an outcome which is contrary to the normal outcome of an election.
Well,
you would be using it as a negotiating mandate to negotiate independence.
Indeed. The Scottish people will have made their view known on a question, and if the answer to that question is the one that I have asked for, then we will take that forward. Is that the best way of resolving this question? No. I think if you keep interrupting me, these guys over here are never going to get to ask their questions, and it's going to be your fault, not mine. So
no,
bear that
they're
in
wonderful
mind.
long answers. I just if you'd answer the second part as well,
Well, what was the
about
second part?
legitimacy.
Well, it is legitimate in an election to ask people a question. If you're asking me, I have always said, pre-2014, through 2014, since 2014, a referendum is the best way of asking and answering a constitutional question. But if a referendum is blocked, then there has to be an alternative, because the only alternative to that is Scottish democracy has no way of expressing itself. And as I've said before, that is not an outcome that I'm prepared to countenance.
So, there was a lot that went on in that quick little bit there. So, yeah, go ahead.
The headline kind of implied something else. Like, bonkers Sturgeon accused of prioritizing Scottish independence over NHS crisis. In the video,
which is not what we heard.
No.
Oh, but consider the source of this paper, right?
Yes.
It is very typical for even labor-based newspapers, let alone Tory newspapers, to disparage the SNP, and to treat Scotland as a almost illegitimate stepchild. And so the bonkers thing, and basically, they're trying to say, well, she was, and other headlines say that she was rude or she rudely dismissed stuff, when in fact I think she gave the reporter a fairly considered question, a response to his question, and dialogued over it. Now, currently there's an NHS crisis, the National Health Service crisis in that region in that island off the coast of Europe, and the Tories have been, the Conservative Party have been accused of trying to sabotage the national health care system in order to then turn around and propose a private healthcare system, but to devolve powers to Scotland, SNP has actually been trying to fund their healthcare service, and in fact, many say that the Scottish healthcare is better than you get in England for that reason. But there still are issues, and that's because Scotland not being independent, the Tory-dominated Westminster tends to do things like say, oh, you put more money into your healthcare system, well, let's pull more money out of Scotland from that point of view. And so that's part of I think it's part of the context there. As to the legitimacy, I mean, I think her point is that what the High Court said was that should Scotland vote for independence, that itself would not be a definitive thing. That's not. It require essentially assent from Westminster. In fact, even to say that they should consult with Westminster before even considering it. The SNP has a response. There are some people in SNP that say, let's have a referendum, a non-binding resolution, or let's have the referendum anyway. There are other extremes that say, let's just declare independence, right? When she talks about other alternative, she's recognizing that there are some within the SNP that would even countenance a unilateral withdrawal from the union. Now, SNP essentially has never been abstentionist. It's not like, for example, what goes on in the area they call Northern Ireland, where the Sinn Féin, the political arm of the we want to be part of the Republic of Ireland group, gets elected to seats, but refuses to go to Westminster because essentially they refuse to pledge loyalty to the monarch. So in that sense, only the Unionists that are elected in that region go to Parliament. The rest of them abstain. SNP has taken a different thing. They actively participate in the Westminster process, and in fact, they apply some rather interesting amusement there in essentially criticizing the way that the place is run. However, if you watch the Parliament, you will see the disdain that both conservatives and Labour, the two sort of dominant parties in that thing, have for the Scots, both in terms of being Scottish and therefore they're not as good as the English, to things like the Scots should be grateful. But on the other hand, they play this
Oh my
game
God,
where
yeah.
they say they say we can't let Scotland go because there's too valuable resources. It turns out, because they try to say, well, Scotland is a
Well,
bunch
if it's
of
valuable,
welfare
then pay for it.
bums.
It's one of those things. Like, if
Yeah.
it's valuable, then pay for it. It's the same as like any other employee. If your employee is valuable, if the resource isn't valuable, then invest in it. Don't treat it like
Yeah.
garbage.
And
It's
Westminster
that same
explains, well,
like
they give all this.
colonialism mentality. Take.
That's very much
Extract as much, squeeze out as much, but give nothing in return. And then on
And
top of that, treat them like shit.
yes, and so the common thing you'll hear, and you hear this discussion in pubs in England quite often as well, is the highest forms of government. They'd say, well, we give all this money to Scotland. They're a bunch of welfare off the dole, living off the dole people. On the other hand, they say Scotland is too valuable to let go, because when you look at the economic power, the resources, and the wealth of Scotland, it has a higher per capita than in England, and so in one way, Scotland is living off the taxpayer. On the other hand, they say Scotland is too valuable to let go. Exactly like that power, the attitudes towards the colonies.
I think there's a cognitive dissonance because there's a bias. They want to sound, when it suits them to the world, they want to sound like, oh, Scotland is very valuable to us, so we can't let it go. But amongst themselves, when they bicker for resources, then they go like, oh, you're a tax welfare state, blah, 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 blah.
Yep.
So,
and
this is very familiar to me. This is so familiar to me because it happens in India back home also. It's exactly the same.
But also, it was also very excuses as to why they wanted to keep India as a colony.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And why they wanted the Commonwealth to be successful, because it's a way of controlling. It's a control thing, and that gives you more optics, like Shishesh says, at a geopolitical level, at international stage. The more people you have that people or other countries perceive, that the more influence you have on other countries and how they act, based on the international relationships, the more powerful you're perceived. That's why India, every time, we are kind of part of the Commonwealth, but every time some other country comes in, like US tried to do in case of the Russia whole sanctions thing and the oil blah 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 thing, India came back and hit back hard. It's like, we're a sovereign country. You're not going to tell us shit to do. We'll do what the fuck we want to do. So fuck off. They were like, so that's very important. So
But the whole colonial attitude towards countries like India was, India should be grateful for English giving them civilization, right? And civilizing them. That's a very and just you think that's
India never had civilization before.
Can we just
till the English got there? No cities in India confirmed.
Oh no, we didn't have like one of the best universities, like the Nalanda universities.
Yes. I disagree with that attitude completely.
Nalanda,
the English
one
attitude.
of the greatest universities.
They
were connected to the Greeks.
Could we just add in real quick the paint with all the colors of the wind song? even Disney has this down. The first lines are, so you think I'm an ignorant savage. But you've been so many places, I guess it must be so. But still I cannot see if the savage one is me. How can there be so much that you don't know? Sorry, go ahead, Landon.
Yeah. So the thing I think that is also as important is that while the colonialism of Britain, British Empire, has has a lot of history in the past. This is attitudes that are currently today going on in there, and you will find it is fairly difficult unless you're talking perhaps with a someone of Scottish descent, to find even in England, let alone at the highest level to the Prime Minister, and I no doubt into the monarchy, that they treat Scotland as they should be grateful that England civilized them. They should be grateful for all the money they have, and
That's what I
stop
roll my eyes
whining.
so
But
hard.
you can't go away because you're too valuable. But so
But
forth. And so
it's narcissistic abuse and gaslighting. Now, what is the how does Brexit affect this situation? Because like Brexit has been just a nightmare.
I have another. I have another opinion about it, or personal opinion about it. That's why because Brexit has happened, so now there's a scramble for resources
Brexit has
amongst the
happened.
United Kingdom. But
Yes.
they are now separated from EU, so all the privileges that they had, in terms of trade, resources, resource sharing, and yada yada yada, when they were part of EU, now they don't have those privileges. So now there's more scrambling for resources. So as long as they keep hold on what they
Yes.
have left, it's like that's also part of the strategy, because if they let go of Scotland, they don't know what will be the repercussions of that. They went ahead and casually did the Brexit, and now they're realizing, oh shit, and now they're so scared. Now they're like holding on to every bit of resource that they can squeeze out from
Yeah.
anywhere. So that's why they will not let Scotland go unless something big happens at UN or international stage or something like that. I can guarantee you.
And a very good point, Maanyaa, and also to what Jesh's question, in terms of the Brexit question, right? Scotland voted overwhelmingly to remain in the EU, and even now that the whole Brexit stuff has continued to be get worse and worse, the sentiment to remain in the EU has been stronger. Now, for example, that one of the things that was a potential, and so EU members have indicated that if Scotland wants to separate from Westminster and become its own country, they would give Scotland a potential consideration to join the EU. One of the holdouts was
Oh,
Spain
that's
over
also another
some
thing,
matters.
isn't it? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think
But
about that. Yeah.
because Scotland has sympathy for Catalonia in their independence, and Catalonia had a vote for independence that was overwhelmingly to separate from Spain. But again, just like that situation, the Catalonia has a significant amount of wealth and economic resources compared to the rest of Spain, and so Spain doesn't want to let it go. Now, poor Catalonia, for example, has been screwed over again by the English. When the Napoleonic
Who
Wars were
has
going on,
English not
again,
screwed over? That's the question.
when
Isn't
the
it?
Napoleonic Wars were going on, Catalonian agents and Catalonia itself did extraordinary damage to Napoleon in there, and were promised by the Brits that if they helped overthrow Napoleon, they would be considered, they would be support the independence, because Napoleon basically had taken over that whole region. And they said, when will you come back? But then what happened was that the monarchists sold out Catalonia, and then under the fascist Franco, who is probably, I put him up in the level of evil similar to the other fascists or Stalin of that time, except he was allowed to live to a ripe old age and die comfortably in his bed, as opposed to what happened with some of those other folks.
But don't forget what happened to his up and coming replacement, who became the first Spanish astronaut after being blown into the sky by a car bomb.
So
Oh,
the Brexit thing has highlighted
Wondering where you're going
the
with that.
schism between England and Scotland over the set. Now, there was a super chat that
Yes.
came forward, or the question. I think prepared to answer if
Yeah,
you want to read off.
Vandalia Pretended asked, so if Scotland did separate, do you think they would be a republic, keeping the same king as England, but be a separate country like it was in the 1600s, or get their own again?
The general take on that, the undertake is that the separation, the independence, Scotland being an independent country, is separate from the monarchy.
Right.
And I suspect that a poll would show that the majority of Scots would favor retaining the monarchy as their head of
It'd be similar
head
to
of
what
state.
Canada does, I would imagine.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can imagine, they would not have. It is a known fact that the person some Scots refer to as big ears would not appear on their currency because they would adopt the euro, which has bridges and things like that, not people like Charles. So
They could put them on stamps.
yes,
You could have some Scottish
stamps.
And so he would still the king would still be able to go to Balmoral and so forth, because the king goes around to various Commonwealth countries, some of them, and does his role and the royalties and all their spawn, all their
Spawn.
stuff that comes
Nice.
from that line of inbreeding, goes around and opens up malls and so forth. So, I mean, it is true that you understand that
No
the
lies
monarchy.
detected.
I mean, the monarchy has a lot of inbreeding, and in fact, they had to go to places like Russia or Bohemia to get genetic material because they were becoming sterile. Right? They were so much combination of syphilis and gonorrhea.
I am reminded of John.
Making them sterile.
I am reminded of
and
John
and
Richards.
inbreeding.
Weren't they like cousin grandparents of the recent Queen Elizabeth who passed away? Like who
I have hybrid
sent
children.
were sent to who were exiled into like care homes or something because they were autistic or they had Down syndrome and all the other not other genetic defects, but addition to that genetic defects that come from inbreeding, right? And they have been living a life in seclusion without any exposure to.
All right, I'm cutting the
media outside
conversation
world.
here. We've gone off to talk about the monarchy now. So any last thoughts about independence for Scotland?
Generally speaking, I think that most political entities are too big, and that it's impossible for most of them to
That's fair.
Effectively govern the number of people that they pretend to be governing. Now, if you think I mean just the United States, no, I mean like the UK, which is a considerably smaller location, is probably way too big. I think that for that reason that I generally support secessionist movements. However, there can be exceptions, because I can think of some rather unpleasant secessionist movements in history. So there's that too.
So, and I support a peaceful creation of independent Scotland. They may have to do some things that the Unionists don't like, but I think if as many sort of history of separation from the British Empire shows, they may have to become more aggressive. Now, I suspect the S&P is going to go ahead with a referendum anyway. They could, for example, couch it as do you authorize the Scottish Parliament to pursue independence? So it would not be considered necessarily binding, but it would be something that the Scottish Parliament would adhere to with a vote. That's probably a better way to go. The High Court sort of said essentially, to become independent, they have to get essentially permission from Westminster, and so they can have, and so Sturgeon in that Nicola Sturgeon in that interview was saying, asking the Scots this question is legitimate, right? Whether or not the Unionist think so or not, and that the Scottish government wants to hold that referendum, have promised to hold a referendum, and then to abide by what the Scottish people say. And that might mean if Scottish people say, yes, we want to be independent, then they will begin to pursue those avenues, support it. It could be that SNP could become a dominant player in Parliament if, for example, the difference between Labour and the Conservative Party is narrow, and they become the tiebreaker. They could demand, in order to form a government, adhere to the independence vote. But they want to hold the vote, and so I support Scotland asking their citizens what their opinion is, and abide by that opinion.
That reminded me of something I wanted to say that I never actually found the time to, which is to say, it's always convenient when the people that you would like to be independent of say that you need their permission. Here's a fun fact. Historically, no, you don't. What you need to be able to do is to kill enough of them that they're willing to give up.
Or at least get them out of your country in less murdery ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think Scotland can become independent without killing people. I think that's
history's bloody.
To do it.
I would like to think so.
It's something I support.
Yeah.
Look, India managed it. However, India was a rather exceptional case.
Oh, Canada seceded without war.
No, England just didn't want a frozen wasteland attached to their belt. Come on, Josh, we all know this.
You know how many
Newfoundland and Labrador was kicked out of the Union.
Trade we lost at international level to achieve independence. It was how much our currency has devalued to achieve that independence.
But then again, look, when it comes to things like independence and the British Empire and whatnot, asking me not to imagine that it's going to be bloody is unlikely.
That's fair. All right,
go ahead. To be fair to somebody, let's say when we refer to the former United Kingdom and say, well, what about the former United States? Yes, I think the United States is equally divided. In my opinion, there are constitutional ways that entities could leave the United States, and I would support that process from going forward. So don't try to think that you're going to pull the former United States thing on me. That being said, I look forward to sometime in my lifetime of Scotland being free of Westminster.
All right, so it is time for our mid-roll ad. I hope you guys are all ready. So if our lovely people,
should I get my atomic pumpkin out for this
I don't know. I think you guys are gonna like this one. So get your drinks.
Okay. Our second sponsor.
Oh.
Hey everybody.
Okay.
It's 2023, and I really wanted to send out a positive message at the beginning of the year, but recent events have made that impossible. Don't get me wrong. I love Spirited. It's a great movie. We had a blast. The entire family watched it. I love Will. I love Octavia. Obviously, I did The Greatest Showman with Benj and Justin. They're incredible, and I loved their music. And Good Afternoon, by the way, the song Good Afternoon, I laughed the entire way through. It is absolutely brilliant. However, I've just heard the Academy have shortlisted Good Afternoon in the Best Song category. Now, Ryan Reynolds getting a nomination in the Best Song category would make the next year of my life insufferable. It would I mean, I have to spend with him shooting Wolverine and Deadpool, and trust me, it would be impossible. It'd be a problem. So, just to recap, love Spirited, love Will, love Octavia, love the song Good Afternoon, love Benj and Justin, but please, from the bottom of my heart, do not validate Ryan Reynolds in this way. Please.
The
thank
pain
you.
is real.
Thank you, everybody. I hope you guys are excited for Deadpool versus Wolverine. I am, I don't know if it's actually, to be fair, I don't know if it's a versus movie, but I am absolutely looking forward to that. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that one?
I mean,
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be hilarious.
It's been many years coming.
Yep, it's true.
Because the thing I like about the Deadpool movies is that they allow a lot of because Deadpool likes the fourth wall break, because that's part of the whole point of it, right?
Yep.
You can allow some of the silliness that comes in around the movies, right? So part of the whole reason for this is because of the ridiculous thing they did to Deadpool in what is it, X-Men Origins Wolverine?
Yes.
Which was not fun. That was a pretty bad movie overall, in case you didn't know.
Spoilers.
So yeah, this will for a movie that's 15 years old at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it now, apparently spoilers. But anyway, so yeah, I think it'll be fun to let both of them kind of be in on the joke in the movie. And that's one of the things I like about the Deadpool series, is that we get that option of we can actually laugh with the filmmakers and the actors about the ridiculousness of the whole idea, because the whole thing is silly, and we know that.
Superhero landing.
Plus, I mean, they both are iconic in both of those roles.
Yeah. So
but
Josh, if you send me... Go ahead.
My only concern is that how long are they going to milk from Hugh Jackman? I thought he was going to retire after Logan, but
did you not see the other ad of Ryan Reynolds sitting on the couch being like, "Hey Hugh, you want to play Wolverine again?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah, why not? But I'm just like, they need, if they want to continue with the character of Wolverine, they need to bring in someone to give. I personally think Hugh Jackman deserves a break with just doing the Wolverine.
I mean, as far as I know, no one is coercing him into reprising the role. I don't think anyone has a gun to his head.
He had a long break. It's been a long time since Logan came out. So, Landon, what did you have for us?
Oh, imagine Hugh Jackman as a Witcher.
Maanyaa, shut up. Landon, what do you got?
Go on.
So I have a very, very dear friend who actually votes in the Academy. He's a member of the Academy and votes on the awards. If you send me a link to that video, I will make sure that he watches that thing.
I will make sure that happens. If I find out that this channel had any kind of influence on the Academy Award voting, I am going to be so goddamn happy. All right, so
he is. Yes. He's very careful. He never reveals ahead of time information about the voting. But it is interesting. He gets a sack of image links, and he watches. He dutifully watches all of the nominees.
Amazing.
He also participates in making recommendations for the nominee in there. He doesn't, to my knowledge, he has not shown up very many times at the Academy, and certainly not in the front where people like Meryl Streep sit. But he certainly commented on the infamous Academy Award altercation.
Ooh. Yes, that's
and weighed
slap and a half.
And weighed in on the penalties quite seriously. He's a fun fellow. So.
All right, so we got our chat vote. Our chat vote was between whether we talk about the Trump $250 million lawsuit or we talk about Jordan Peterson and Pierre. And it looks like Jordan Peterson has won because chat hates me. So
we have to talk about the Canadian this time. We
get to talk about Canada. So the long and short of this is that Jordan Peterson is under investigation, I guess, and has been told by the Canadian Association that's in charge of whether or not the behavior of professionals in the field of psychology is actually professional. Because, believe it or not, there are rules around this sort of thing, and there are committees that are around that exist that, keep professionals...
Sounds like communism.
...in line. Well, it's Canada. So he was complaining about that some ages ago, and he has actually now at this point posted what he is getting in, like what he got called in for, because he left a whole big long thread explaining what he said he was involved for, and one of them was talking about Trudeau, criticizing Trudeau and supporting Pierre, Trudeau being the liberal and Pierre being the conservative. So, needless to say, that does not seem to be the case as to what he is actually being called in for, and he had to either take retraining from them or face a disciplinary committee. Those were his options. So here's somebody named Rachel Gilmore, Global News. Jordan Peterson uploaded a document with screenshots of the complaints made against him to the College of Psychologists. The first allegation is that he, a licensed psychologist, made a joke about suicide directed at someone on Twitter. Here's what else it shows. Strap in. So, hopefully you guys can see that okay. It says, this is to subject Jordan Peterson's suicide tweet. It says, to whom it may concern, it is against every ethical standard and best practice of the U.S. National Association of Social Workers Code of Ethics to make light of, encourage, joke about, or reference the topic of suicide in a manner that is not grounded in safety, prevention, and evidence-based therapeutic intervention. I am sure that Canada's standards of professional psychology/social work are similar. I am submitting a formal complaint not only for Jordan Peterson's original tweet, but for the fact that he just shared it again, promoting the idea that what he did was perfectly fine. Thank you for your time. Here's the tweet in question. Jordan Peterson tweeting out, retweeting somebody that had said, I disagree. Based on the record of human behavior, we are already overpopulating this small world. Any arguments I have heard for supporting such a large human population completely overlook the huge loss of species and ecosystems resulting from our self-absorbed attention. Jordan Peterson had retweeted that and said, you're free to leave at any point. Ongoing, he said, a tweet from Peterson during the Freedom Convoy, when he opined Children's Aid didn't need to get involved. Psychologists have to report when a child is in need of protection. That is an ongoing thing. They are required reporters. The complaint alleges the tweet undermined public trust in Peterson's judgment in that regard. Jordan Peterson has publicly opined no Child's Aid Society intervention is required in a public review of the Ottawa trucker protest. The Ottawa Police Service has announced the participation of CAS, Children's Aid Society, and an attempt to ensure safety of children and their safe removal following any parental removal. So basically, if any of the truckers brought their kids, Canadian Society to Protect Kids are going to take care of them or give them places to stay while their parents are being held.
Question: to your knowledge, has that actually happened in terms of children being removed, or is this just a general blanket?
I think this is a general blanket. I haven't found any specific cases where a child needed to be put somewhere else. I haven't really seen any long-lasting arrests from the Ottawa protest, but don't quote me on it. I can't say for sure that there were none.
Okay. Said the person drinking out of Tim Hortons cup.
Yep. February 9th, 2022 announcement, Ottawa Police Services, and then there's a link, and February, Children's Aid Society, Ottawa, blah, 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 blah. These are all just links to everything. Yada, yada, yada. Peterson's February 17th, 2022 remark attached, undermine public trust in the judgment as a mandatory reporter. The professional maturity and willingness to act in the capacity of a mandatory reporter is an important ethical component of the psychological profession. Thank you for considering this submission. Regards, name. And then here's the post-millennial. Interim Ottawa Police Chief says he's working with social services and Freedom Convoy protesters to have children removed from the area prior to any sort of police action. So they were just making sure kids were safe if there was going to be any kind of altercation.
Sure.
Quote, children removed, how exactly, why exactly, by whom exactly, sent to where exactly, and for how long exactly. Think this through, Canadians, this is a bad decision. Yeah, he's completely and the person making the report is correct. He's completely disregarding the existence of Children's Social Aid Society. It's not just random. The police have groups that they work with. Yeah.
Didn't the tweet say that they're working with the child services?
Social services.
The child services. Yeah. Social services, right?
Yeah.
So the answer is there itself.
Yeah.
And obviously, and he's asking about the length of time, you would assume by what it's all in that tweet.
Yes.
When they're going to confront the convoy, the police, they will try to remove the convoy. Then they will during that time they want to make sure that the children are safe. So the children will be away from that area for that duration of time till that whole convoy is dispersed. So parents can, when their parents are heading back to their respective cities, towns, etc., they can get their children back.
Correct.
So this guy who has no fucking idea how the Canadian system works, and by the sounds of it, has no clue how his own American system works, is sitting there trying to ask stupid questions.
He's not
just because
American.
He wants
He's
to
Canadian.
Sound cool.
No, he's Canadian.
Oh, he's Canadian. Oh, God.
He's
Yeah.
He's Canadian.
Canada.
He is a psychologist.
But America has to take so
And he has
many
no
of
fucking
the
clue what he's
nonsense
talking
losers in the news. I'm not taking this one.
Well, to be fair, the only reason he's been popularized is because of America.
Look, without Canada, he wouldn't exist, just like Justin Bieber.
Oh, no, you're not blaming us for Justin Bieber. That's Usher's fault. He's American.
Canada needs to stop dumping their trash south of the border.
To be fair, you need to stop rummaging through our trash and taking it and making it famous.
I mean, yeah, okay, it takes two to tango, but I'm still not taking 100% responsibility here.
To be fair, there was also a contest back during the Olympics a good number of years ago, during the Winter Olympics, where there were billboards saying, "Loser takes Bieber," between Canada and America, whoever wins the gold in hockey. Surprise, surprise, Canada won.
I didn't authorize any of this, by the way.
All right.
Saying.
It's just that Canada usually fails recently to get to Stanley Cup because American teams buy the best Canadian players.
Correct.
To work.
Yes.
For players. So
there's another point in the chat. Don't forget about Steven Crowder. Yes, Steven Crowder is Canadian.
There you go.
What's his name? Ted Cruz also has Canadian citizenship.
Yes. Well, but there's also Terrence and Phillip. Don't forget what Terrence and Phillip did in corrupting the minds of the children, according to Kyle's mom.
I refuse to apologize for Bryan Adams, specifically because the spirit stallion of the Cimarron movie doing it better than Phil Collins. Okay, so the screenshot surmises the documents the college looked at while investigating Peterson, including tweets and Joe Rogan appearances. They show a summary of the college's key concerns, which included whether he was sharing fake info and tweeting harassment and abuse. And there's a bunch here if you want to go through it again. I will add some additional links below because these are really long and we're not going to read through all of these today because this is really long. But as you can see, it does not appear to be the case that, as he had initially presented, that Jordan Peterson was getting in trouble due to free speech, nor that he was getting in trouble due to supporting Pierre and being critical of Justin Trudeau. Now, here is where we have our conservative leader talking, defending Jordan Peterson's right to free speech.
Trademark Canada.
Nobody is take a shot every time Landon says, "Sorry, Canada." Okay,
but you have to say it in the South Park way. Sorry.
Sorry. Okay, so there's a. I would argue personally. I would say that there is no issue of freedom of speech. Jordan Peterson's allowed to say whatever he wants. However, when you say something as a professional, there is a degree of expectation and standard that you are to be held to maintain that license. Should Jordan Peterson choose to no longer maintain his license, then no holds bar about what those standards are. But
I mean, yeah.
This is Pierre, by the way.
There's a difference between freedom of speech, which is that you are not facing legal consequences for speech that is like not incitement or fraud in itself, versus you are a member of a professional body which has expectations of you and which can choose to kick you out, and which, by the way, you chose to join. No one forced Jordan Peterson to become a licensed psychologist. He's a psychologist, right?
Yep.
Not a psychiatrist? Yep. Okay.
No
one forced him to do that. He could have not. There are other things you can do with the degrees he has. In fact, he's doing the other things. That's one of the other odd things is, like, Is he seeing patients? Is this going to actually matter to him other than like bragging rights? It doesn't seem like it.
No, it does apply to like his book sales, I would assume, because he sells books as a doctor. He presents himself as a doctor.
Well,
when he's on Joe Rogan, he presents. Sure, but with that, he'd be a doctor who lost his license.
Yeah,
well,
but I mean,
he could be a doctor as in a PhD.
Yes.
Right.
Unless the institution does something to try to withdraw that. But let's, in terms of, we talk about Peterson, but let's talk about Pierre.
Yes.
The Canadian party leaders are sometimes notorious for their pandering, right? Justin Trudeau panders to what's called the woke left, and is well known for correcting people's speech with regards to what people might clean as woke, even though Justin Trudeau himself has a history of things that he would he would consider anathema, right? Take the number of times, every time there's an election, there's even more stuff of the time that Justin Trudeau's behavior has not lived up to his woke claims. Now, what is Pierre doing? He's pandering to the conservative, because he's trying to say, this is why, he effectively is saying, this is why you should support the Conservative Party, because the current government is going to support this agenda to make your kids woke and force you to do things against your will. He's definitely pandering for that. I mean, I believe he's definitely misrepresented this situation. He hasn't even gone to the nuance of saying, well, this is a professional society stuff. He's trying to score points so that in the next election, his party has a better chance of forming government. And this is a fundamental problem that's been occurring with Canadian elections. They have become presidentialized.
Yep.
The people tend to vote overwhelmingly for the party leader. And in fact, in the poll we've done, of Canadians in the writing, Canadians who vote frequently cannot tell you for whom they voted for. They can say, I voted for Justin Trudeau's party.
Yeah,
I voted for...
Yeah, there's something called strategic voting. As when you potentially vote against your own interests locally for a provincial edge. So it's a really big problem that the way you get a prime minister in Canada, you don't vote for that prime minister. What you do is you vote in your local ridings for your local government and then your provincial government, and that will dictate the number of seats that each party gets.
Yes.
And then that party will have their sitter, right? So their sitter in this case is Trudeau and Pierre.
Yeah.
Leaders of the party.
And they would then once it's formed, they try to form a government, and whatever coalition or group does right now is there. So isn't it currently the NDP is coalitioned with the Liberal Party
right now
in a way, not technically coalition, but they're sort of supported by.
They've basically made a handshake agreement saying, if you do this, we will vote along your party's lines. But what we want in return for this is politics. This is the way politics is supposed to operate. When you have more, you're not just supposed to have two parties just button heads all the time. You're supposed to have other groups around with a good enough seat riding that they can influence what these the two leading parties are capable of doing. So it's not weird or bizarre or wrong for the NDP and the Liberal Party to be potentially having these handshake deals. It's the way it's supposed to work. However, we have a really big problem of every other party isn't quite big enough. We've gotten way too much like American leakage, where we are kind of getting stuck with some I don't know, as fumes coming from down below that are like messing with some people's brains that have like a really, and it's affecting our politics in a really, really negative way.
Yeah.
It's return for all those Arctic blasts that have been coming down south.
There you go. And the wall's not high enough, or the ditch is not deep enough.
Yeah.
In my case, there's a ditch between here and another country.
The no
turns
touching
country to the
zone.
north.
It's the no touching zone.
Yeah,
it goes all the way
It
across.
really is.
Yep.
No
It's
adorable.
crazy. There's a little ditch that you can walk across. It's locally known as Trudeau's ditch.
Yep.
But again, what we're seeing here with this item is that Pierre is trying to pander to a base saying, support me because I am opposing these leftists trying to control your speech. That's effectively what he's doing. He's not even addressing the real
Right.
issue.
Yeah, there was a really big problem when it comes to things like where sort of Jordan Peterson came from, and that has kind of snowballed. And the thing is that Jordan Peterson came from Bill C-16. Bill C-16, what it did was it added trans people into and gender affirming into people who were protected. So race, religion, sexual orientation, they added gender in. Right? That's all it did. It changed nothing for anybody, really. And it's because the issue is about harassment, not about what words you can use. However, Jordan Peterson went around and made a name for himself, pretending that Bill was against free speech or something that had anything to do with free speech whatsoever, which it doesn't. It has to do with harassment laws and discrimination laws. Now, what's happened, this has snowballed since then. This has been probably a decade since that happened. But now we're looking at him being under scrutiny by his own board, like the board that is his profession, for behaving in an unprofessional manner, which he knows what these rules are. He signed on to them when he got his degree and when he got his licensing done. These are all things that he agreed to, and he is not following the rules of that board. Now, he's getting scrutinized by that. He's going to have to deal with that however he decides to deal with that. And we've got somebody who's leading the Conservative Party being like, but I agree with free speech, which has nothing to do with what he's actually being pulled in for. It's
exactly.
bullshit.
He can go for free speech. He can give up his license and then go do his free speech if he wants to.
Yeah.
That's fine. But as long as he had, like I said, committed to some rules and regulations and ethics, if he wants to be a registered psychologist, he needs to follow those. He can all be free. But the thing is that he uses his degree, his
license and degree,
his profession,
credentials,
credentials as a psychologist for notoriety when he's spewing all this bullshit. The reason why he's put on a pedestal is because he's a psychologist who spews all that bullshit. If it was just another guy who was spewing bullshit, no one would have given him any platform. Maybe he would have gone the Andrew Tate way. Maybe.
I imagine that. Why have you done this to me?
That's not an improvement.
So that's why. So what the association is saying is that you cannot use this pedestal to spew bullshit. We have given you a privilege. It's a privilege to be part of our association and to have this as a profession.
Right.
And
it's not a
right.
It's not a right. It's a privilege. Stop being a dick, or we will take away that privilege from you. Simple
if you look at what Jordan said, he does talk about his license as if it is a right. It's a big yikes. I'm gonna hit play and actually hear what Pierre has to say, because right now we're kind of just going off of
it's like
history.
It's like saying a welder, welder goes around and he's got a certification in welding, right? But then he says, no, I'm not going to protect people around me while I'm welding. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want. Wave my.
I'm writing my name. It's a sparkler.
Yeah. And people get hurt because of that. And then he's like, oh, it's my free speech right, to wave my blowtorch around like that, it's like, and then he gets his license, his certification revoked because he's being harmful.
Yeah, we'll see if he gets it revoked or not.
Yeah, and I'm presuming that Jordan Peterson was probably, from an economic point of view, wanted to go down the martyr track to force them to rule on it and then exploit that for more economic purposes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
But again, for many professional societies, there is a code of conduct, right? The American Astronomical Society, every year you renew your membership, you have to click on acknowledging the thing, and they have a specific thing to say. I acknowledge, the particularly the point on not allowing you to harass people, right? The no harassment acknowledgement.
simplest.
You have to do it every time, and you can't say, well, I didn't know or I didn't agree. I don't know about the psychology group, but that's common in professional things for you to be required to acknowledge it on a regular basis.
The simplest analogy is you get your driver's license, and then you still have to follow the rules of the road. And if you don't follow the rules of the road, and you don't reach a certain standard of driving, and you get caught enough times, and you get tickets, and you get reports, you lose your license.
Okay, but I'm not driving, I'm
citizen.
traveling. Yeah, I'm just traveling.
Yeah, okay. My unfinished journey for five said. My unfinished journey for five said Peterson frequently decries woke moralists. I suppose that makes him a sleeping moralist because he's definitely a moralist. Point to all right.
That's cool. That's
Well
nice.
said. Well said.
I'm gonna hit play on what this
Sure.
man's saying, and then we'll move on.
So the Ontario College of Psychologists has told Jordan Peterson that he either undergo retraining for social media etiquette or lose his license to practice as a clinical psychologist. This follows a number of complaints by people who don't like his online posts, one of which is a retweet of something I posted, another is a criticism of Justin Trudeau. Now, it should go without saying that in a free country, professionals should not lose their jobs and licenses because they express a political opinion contrary to the licensing body that's mandated by the government. But, of course, in saying this, my liberal critics in the media will, of course, say, well, Poilievre agrees with freedom of speech for someone like Dr. Peterson, therefore he must endorse everything Dr. Peterson has ever said. Well, of course not. I don't endorse 100% of everything anyone has ever said. There's no two people in the world who agree 100% of the time on 100% of things. And so I'm sure there is something he's posted that I do object to, but that is not the point, because freedom of speech only matters when you disagree. I mean, if we all agreed, we wouldn't need freedom of speech because no one has ever tried to censor someone for saying something that they agree with.
Not being censored.
It is only when there is a disagreement that it matters. And that's what distinguishes Canada, a free country, from dictatorships. Dictators don't censor things their citizens say that the dictator agrees with, only things they disagree with. Here in Canada, though, unfortunately, through the cancel culture and the woke movement we've seen at university campuses and in the media, and now increasingly in big, powerful corporations, and most recently with a professional licensing body, we're seeing the idea that someone can lose their job, their status, their ability to study because they express something that is contrary to the government line. Now, I don't believe that is the Canada we want. We have Section 2B of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. To be or not to be, that is the question. And the answer is that, as Voltaire has been quoted as saying, I may not agree with what you say, but I will defend to my death your right to say it.
Okay.
What a schmuck.
Wow. If Jordan Peterson had actually been taken in for disagreeing with the political stance, that would be a great speech. That's just not, the thing that happened.
The only thing I can see that have been posted is throughout this document, we also see a lot of tweets about Prime Minister Trudeau's former top aide, Gary Butts. The screenshots is Peterson calling Butts a prick and a stunningly corrupt and tells him to watch himself. I don't know if you know this, conservative leader. Threats are not protected. Threats to government officials. Weird. Yeah. Weird. Right, and here you see at CP Ontario, bad acronym, or bad, really unfortunate initial, but these posts comply with your standards of professional conduct for members. He's allowed to say these things, but not when he's utilizing like the what's the
Yes.
word I'm looking for? Not when he's utilizing the propriety of other organizations and professionals in the field.
Speaking as a certified member or a credentialed member of an
Right.
organization.
Right. Correct. So yeah, there is no
It's your-
attack on free speech. There is no attack on on whether or not he politically agrees or not, as we saw with how many other reports were going through due to his terrible nonsense he's been saying about child services and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It turns
the
out
issue
that,
about
I was just going to say, it turns out when you're an actual professional psychologist, and you use that as a way to, gain influence over people, it does in fact actually put some limits on things that you can say in that capacity, as well it should.
Correct. All right, so let's move on from that one. And our last topic is going to be, let me just switch us over here. The House. Kevin McCarthy.
Oof.
We made it. We made it
the
all
U.S.
the way
House.
here. Yes, the U.S.
The U.S.
House
House, because
specifically.
there are other houses.
Well, the U.S. House is probably
Yes.
on fire. So, Landon, I know you've been following this really, really closely. So why don't we start with you? We'll go to Dapper, then we'll go to Maanyaa.
So Kevin McCarthy was elected Speaker. He was elected Speaker through the legitimate process that is the House of Representatives. The U.S. Constitution allows the House of Representatives to determine its own rules, and they followed the rules. And after a number of votes that they exceeded the a number of previous times, although it's certainly not the record, Kevin McCarthy obtained the votes necessary to become Speaker. Now, what happened was that there was let's call them a renegade group of Republicans that didn't immediately support Kevin McCarthy as Speaker, and essentially blocked his ability to become Speaker because he did not have the required votes. This time, the required votes were to have a majority of votes cast. Right, a seat not filled or someone voting present doesn't count, but of the votes cast for somebody, he had to get a majority, 50% plus one, at least, and there were enough of this sort of essentially sort of a renegade Republicans that it took a number of times before he was elected. Now, we understand that Kevin McCarthy has been hungry for power for a number of years, right? It is well known that when he was a congressional aide, he would say things like, my goal is to become a member of Congress. In his very first speech, when he became a member of Congress, he pointed back to the Speaker's chair and saying, my goal is to sit there, right? Power has been something that he has longed for. He tried unsuccessfully to become Speaker back when he ran against Nolan Ryan, who became Speaker. Part of the problem McCarthy had was that he looked at then was the Tea Party and essentially said those folks are not good for the Republican Party. I don't want anything to do with them, and lost in part because the Tea Party as a bloc plus sympathizer of the Tea Party didn't support McCarthy and had to back out. So he learned from that lesson and now has been pandering to the extremists in the Republican Party. Let's call them the MAGA people, the Trump people. Even though at times McCarthy's true feelings come out, right? For example, when the January 6th insurrection occurred and McCarthy's life was threatened, he came back to the floor and roundly condemned Trump. He even went through the process, it's been alleged, that he was recommending that the cabinet remove Trump under the 25th Amendment, and that Trump has to go. Calmed down, realized a political mistake, went to Mar-a-Lago and, as they say, kissed the ring and made up and became Trump's boy. In fact, Trump refers to him as McCarthy as Kevin's my boy, right? And the press would annoy Kevin McCarthy by saying, didn't you say such and such against Trump? And he would say, I've already said that. I already responded to that. I don't want to talk about it again, right? He he's willing to do anything to remain in power. And this, in my opinion, I hold McCarthy in higher contempt than Trump, because you might argue that Trump's alleged narcissism and Trump's alleged insurrectionist stuff might be due to Trump being crazy or wacko or strange. Kevin McCarthy knows better. This man knows better. And you see flashes of that of his actual true opinion come through when he makes a mistake. He knows that Trump is bad news. He knows these MAGA people are bad news. That's one reason why he didn't give in to the renegade Republicans who are demanding extreme things from him, and until he realized he isn't going to get speaker until he caves in. And so McCarthy knows better and did it anyway. And that, in my mind, makes him, to my opinion, worse than someone who might be just off the rocker. So we have Kevin McCarthy as speaker. I understand he's a legitimate speaker, right? I'm not going to pull the stupid stuff that some people say, not my president, not my speaker, so forth.
Right. He got it.
He won speakership under legitimate rules. The process they followed was to the T, correct within House rules. It's unfortunate that he is a recipient of the speakership for that reason.
Yeah, there's basically what this article is talking about here in particular, which I think we should touch on is. Oh, sorry, Dapper. I should let you go. Dapper, do you have?
Yeah. I mean, there's very little that I would want to say that Landon didn't already cover. I do think it was a bit of a ridiculous showing from the Republicans. I do think that this will probably be used against them in the next election coming up here in a couple of years.
Yep.
But I also don't know to what degree, right? But I also don't know to what degree it'll really damage them, because the thing is,
right,
I don't think their base cares about this. I think their base is I mean, it's become pretty clear that they're not super interested in things like decorum or keeping with traditional ideas of rule of law and propriety and things like that.
Right.
So on the one hand,
a large portion of that base, yes.
Right. So on the one hand, it seems like, if this had been 10 years ago, this would have been a pretty big problem in the long run. But now, I don't know. It's a lot harder for me to predict what the Republican base is going to do, because well, first, the Republican base has shifted, right? A lot of the people who were just like, oh, I'm a Republican because I think that I pay too much in taxes, and I don't know, I'm suspicious of the direction the school lunch program is going or something stupid like that. Those people have, by and large, kind of left, and now we're down to people who are like, I'm a Republican because I hate the black people. And it's like, oh, okay, great.
Yikes.
But let's be fair. The Democratic Party's actions in the House was not to try to convince the Republicans or the Republican members, but to send a continued message to the independents who hold the balance of power between the two parties, right? And even though the actions of this week may be forgotten long before even the month out, what they're doing is they're trying to set the stage and set the narrative to try and paint the Republicans in the House of Representatives as dysfunctional. And that's probably the strategy that the Democrats in the House of Representatives are going to do, because of what the House of Representatives apparently will do, and this article speaks to it.
And I think to a large extent, GOP is currently dysfunctional, because you have a problem where the only place to go if you are somewhat right of center in the United States, essentially if you want to actually have any political success at all, is the Republican Party. But there's a problem there too, in that, well, okay, that's great, but the Republican Party is also the place where you want to go if you want to do things like ban anyone who's a few shades darker skinned than you are, or if you want to do things like, I don't know, call people actually waving National Socialist flags good people. And
Yes.
There's a lot of people who are okay with saying, I think we should lower the marginal tax rate on corporate income taxes, or perhaps we should readjust where the capital gains tax is. And those people, I think, still need to have a place to have a seat at the table, or at least to try. But right now, their
Good point.
only option is the current GOP, and that's going to lead to some dysfunction because that's still a voting base in the United States. There's still people who have what you might call like the paleoconservative idea of like, I'm not a big fan of big government spending programs and huge tax rates, but also, no, I don't really think we should be banning immigration from a bunch of countries that only seem to have in common that they're all Muslim, or like you toss in then like North Korea, which wasn't exactly a big source of immigration in the first place anyway. Right. Maybe we shouldn't do that. Or maybe we shouldn't, disrupt the lawful conduct of a change of power with BRICS. Maybe that's also inappropriate. Yes. And those people, I don't think they have a place to go anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a sad state of affairs within American politics. Now, it is, there are members of the GOP which I have policy disagreements with that if they became elected, I would have a policy disagreement with. But there are a few people like Trump, like McCarthy, who I think are damaging the political system, and my disagreements are not on policy, but on, I think, sound behavior of stuff. I mean, again, it's one thing to object to someone's political view on, let's say, immigration, right? You can have a debate about that. But when they go to things like supporting insurrectionists, which this person was a target of that thing, and yet he is going to, as we'll see, pander to that group because he needs that to remain in personal power. I hold him in extreme contempt.
Mm-hmm. Maanyaa, what are your What are your thoughts on this? Maanyaa, falling asleep?
Maanya's like, that's the other side of the world. I don't care.
She's muted. Yeah, you're muted.
She's muted.
Really? Yes, really.
We still can't hear you.
No, you're on your own.
We have to find out what Chesh thinks instead.
Did I mute her by accident? Nope, wasn't me. I didn't do it. Well, okay, so I'm curious to know what deal he managed to broker. Okay. That's what I'm curious. No, we can't hear you, Maanyaa. That's what I'm curious. And so some of the breakdowns have been a little bit interesting. Do we recall offhand how many rounds he had to go through?
17, was it?
15? He lost.
15 sounds right.
15? Yeah.
It might have been 15. Yeah, 15 sounds more right than 17.
Come on, Maanyaa, I believe in you. So the full proposal hasn't leaked, but parts of it have, like parts of the framework, because he had to convince people to get on his side, right? To get them to vote for him.
Yeah, to get roughly 20 dissident members of his party.
Yeah.
And so, the normal part is that he needed to have a deal. The abnormal part is that deal was not worked out by the time they convened.
Yes.
That's the weird part.
Yeah, and so what did he have to do, and what did they have to negotiate? Because I would assume that they attempted to negotiate in the background, and then
they did.
Yeah, and then failed, and so now they're negotiating during. And so what we've got is this is breaking it down. This is Vox.com, but they've broken it down into three main ones. That McCarthy made promises about how he would approach government spending-related issues, like appropriation bills and the debt ceiling, and those promises appear to set the stage for tense showdowns with Democrats. Whoopee, that's your opinion, don't care. Second is McCarthy agreed to change the House rules that would make it easier to trigger an effective no-confidence vote in his own leadership, which is interesting. And third is McCarthy agreed to committee assignments demanded by the holdouts including replacing Republicans associated with the Hardline Freedom Caucus on the powerful Rules Committee.
So can I think let's no, we can't hear you, Maanyaa. Let me talk about the first one, the three items there in terms of the facts first before open up to general discussion. The Constitution says that all bills relating to money must originate in the House of Representatives, and in order for a bill, it has to go through the Senate and then be signed by the President.
Mm-hmm.
So what certain members, and particularly the rogue members of the Rogue Party have said is they want to use the issue of the debt ceiling.
Oh, I heard Maanyaa.
Yeah, thank you, Maanyaa. They want to use the issue of the debt ceiling and when the issue of the budget to force the hand of the rest of the government. And what do you mean by that? Well, the debt ceiling is basically Congress has authorized an expenditure. The government spends the money,
right?
And the people who the people who they let's say buy something from want to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
In order to do that, the debt ceiling has to be high enough to allow the payments. So just because the U.S. government says buy, let's say, a truck from you or an airplane, doesn't mean you get paid. It's only when the debt ceiling authorized by the House of Representatives allows them to do so. Right? What's the penalty? What is the consequences if the U.S. government doesn't pay its bills? They go into default. That effectively the dollar goes into default. Extraordinary, catastrophic consequences for the economy, U.S. economy as well as the rest of the world.
Mm.
It really would be kind of the financial Armageddon if they defaulted on stuff, because a lot of the value of the dollar, U.S. dollar, is on the faith and credit of the U.S. government. So what the conservatives want to do is to use the threat of going into default as a way to get their things. And these are things that the actual rogue members have pledged to do. They want to essentially cut back on Social Security. They want to eviscerate Obamacare. They want to mandate that abortions are illegal. They want to compel a bunch of essentially competitive issues that have really nothing to do necessarily with the budget, but they say we're going to push forward withholding that ceiling or hold out a budget if they don't get their way. So what the speaker has said was, I'm going to, and in fact we heard it in his speech, I'm going to use the power of the purse to push our agenda. He knows the Senate dominated by the Democrats, and even some of the Republicans in the Senate are not crazy, and he knows the president won't do it. So they have signaled they're willing to let the U.S. go in default, to shut down the government and to damage the credibility of the U.S. dollar in order to try to get their way. And the conservatives, or let's say these rogue people, part of their thing they wanted the speaker to promise was he would be willing to go that far, to pull the nuclear option. Now, to the second item. The second item is essentially vacating the speaker, or essentially saying, "Hey, speaker, get out of it. Get out of here. We want a new speaker." The rules as it is now, because they haven't changed the rules, they're going to change it on Monday, is that the majority members of the majority party have to agree to have a motion. Anyone can stand up and say, "I want to do that," but what the clerk will say is, "Do you have majority of your party seconding your motion? If not, get out of here." The conservatives, and particularly the radical breakaway Republicans, want him to change the rule to say any member can stand up and say, effectively, "I move that the chair be vacated. I move that we should get rid of the current chair." Now, they still have to vote. They have a second, 1 second, and then have a vote. But imagine this. Imagine if the Democrats vote in unison to get rid of the chair, and 5 members of GOP don't like what the speaker is doing, they could get together and essentially bounce the chair out of, remove the chair and have a new set. So what they're doing is, this is a second business, is to say to McCarthy, you better behave as we want you to behave. Otherwise, it's very easy for any member of our members to say, hey, vacate
but he's
the chair.
used to that.
Motion,
he's used to just
motion
kissing boots and getting walked all over.
But the problem is, historically, it's not been the case. Historically, you have to have a good chunk of your party agreeing to the motion to even have it brought forward. In this case, all it takes is any member who's ticked off at the chair can say, I moved, vacate the chair. You get a second, and then you have a vote. And the motions, and it's a privileged motion. They can't stop it. And if there are 5 GOP members who don't like what the speaker is doing, along with the United Democrats, they could essentially wipe out the chair. So this is how they're going to try to hold him to the first and the third. But there's, by the way, in his speech, when he accepted the speakership, he gave hints as to other things they want to do. So let's go to the third one, which is committee assignments, right? There are powerful committee assignments, such as the Rules Committee, the Ways and Means Committee, the committee that would be oversight, which would do investigations, that the so-called Freedom Caucus and the rebel Republicans want to be on and actually want to control. And people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who grainingly got her, I don't know if you saw, she went up to the speaker and got up there and go like this next to him to get the photo taken of this stuff.
Yeah.
She supported the speaker because McCarthy has promised her a key chairmanship of a committee in order to do things like investigate QAnon theories and that sort of stuff. So the committee assignments of the so-called Freedom Caucus and stuff, essentially they're giving them extraordinary power, and he has to, because of the second thing. Right? The second thing was how they hold him accountable.
Right.
So there. Now there's additional things that we know, but I want to just give you the background of the 3 things, and there's other items that we know from his speech that he's planning on doing.
Yes. So these are the ones that we know that have kind of quote unquote leaked out. The other ones we can guess what he wants, but that's not necessarily what he's going to agree to amongst or during this process. So I'm sure more will come out as we go in figuring out what exactly is going to go on and how it's going to play out. Dapper, what you got for us?
Well, so in terms of coming out with the deal and whatnot, so while the actual terms of the deal might not technically be published, the rules that the Congress will operate by obviously have to be published so that way people can follow them. So we'll know explicitly what those are. And then once the actual committee appointments come out, it won't be super tricky to figure out which of those were influenced by this deal, right? So I'm curious to see who goes where. I mean, to a large extent, I think we all know that this is going to be a fairly lame duck session. There's not a whole lot that they're going to be able to accomplish. Although, if by accomplish you mean things like, an extended government shutdown, I think you should probably prepare for that.
Oh, so, God, we're back to government shutdowns, are we?
So a few things with government shutdowns is that if you have plans to visit a national park, do it sooner rather than later. However, government shutdowns don't mean that the military is going to go away or that you get to not pay your taxes. So
were people thinking that last time?
People didn't know what was going on apparently, and there were people who were like, so wait, do I have to pay my taxes, or does the war stop? And it's like, no, all the stuff that you don't like, you still have to do. It's only the stuff that you do like that doesn't happen.
And
it's only the government itself that doesn't have to do anything.
But even worse than the government shutdown, which is they're not paying people so that people don't work, is the fact of defaulting on the debt, right? If you hold dollars or if you hold a currency that's tied to the dollar and they default on the debt,
Yep.
that is, the government refuses to pay the bills that Congress has already authorized to be paid,
And if you're on any kind of government support,
you are going to suffer economically, right? Whether you're Canadian dollar, which is very, very much impacted by the US dollar, or you an American that hold dollars, right? Your value is going to be hit hard. Now, in the past, when they've had government shutdowns, they approached the default date, and they've done things like say, well, okay, let's kick the can down 7 days and authorize for some more money, right? The hardcore conservatives, the MAGA folks, the Freedom Caucus, has said no more of those compromises.
Yep.
We are going to demand that to be occurred. And the speaker in his speech said, we're going to use the power of the purse strings to essentially force our way. And so if you're a senator and the House of Representatives puts forward a bill that says things like, we're going to defund the IRS, we're going to eviscerate the FBI because it's another target, we're going to and we're going to require that abortion be criminalized and a bunch of other things, would you as a senator, given a choice between going along with that or defaulting the debt, what would you choose?
You've got a choice between defunding. You've got a choice between defunding projects and groups that are inherent to protecting your government and protecting your people, and taking all of the people in your country and forcing them into poverty. Those are your options. Good luck.
Yeah. And so the hardcore, and understand, if let's say if the speaker decides that he wants to compromise and not push as hard or stuff, all it takes is one member to stand up and say, I move this, we vacate the speaker. They have a second, and then if majority goes through, we have a new speaker, and we have this whole mess all over again, right?
I cannot
Holy shit.
I cannot this sounds like such a absolute clusterfuck. And I cannot see how it's not going to get more of a clusterfuck.
Yeah. Now, thankfully, the previous Congress raised the debt ceiling through the end of the fiscal year. It's through the end of September. Okay. So it's October 1st, the new budget.
We got some time.
And the appropriations are there to do that. But for example, they've said, we're not going to vote for dollars for Ukrainian support. We're not going to support things relating to poverty alleviation or other things, unless you agree to all this stuff, right? They're so they have the means holding the speaker accountable and the drive, because the hardcore, what they call the hardcore conservative meme or mantra, is they want to make the U.S. government small enough that they can drown it in a bathtub. That's the actual. That's the meme. We want to reduce the size of the U.S. government to be so small that we can drown it in a bathtub, and that's sort of the thing they want to do. They're willing to default on the debt.
I think that Kevin Costner needs to play this kind of movie, but we should probably start looking at wrapping up there.
Other comments. By the way, we know he's promised to investigate the weaponizing of the FBI. That is, the FBI that raided Mar-a-Lago. He said it in his speech. He said in his speech, we're going to investigate weaponizing the FBI because.
How are they gonna
get? Is it going to be the same thing that they did last year? Of what was that FBI director's name?
Well,
was called into question. Something like that.
The Constitution gives Congress the oversight, and so they're going to subpoena people and essentially have a thing that because there is the hardcore base.
Yep.
Is mad that they raided Trump's compound. Understand that the pictures show Donald Trump with highly classified documents sitting on his office floor, right? It's very difficult to dispute the fact that Trump had stuff. And so the response from the Trump people is to complain the FBI has been weaponized. So they're going to hold hearings. The group has said, we intend to impeach Biden 3 times because Trump was impeached twice.
Well, how are they gonna?
God.
They
How
are-
are they, if they don't have the FBI? How are they gonna go through Hunter Biden's laptop?
Good question.
So again, it is one thing to say I disagree with the Republican Party on policy, and they can have a healthy debate. It's another thing to put into peril the economy and critical issues to the U.S. in order to placate a so-called hardcore MAGA group. And this is sadly what I think we're heading towards. And McCarthy's speech, he hit on the point. Just listen to his speech, and he will tell you other things that he's agreed to. There, remember what happened on the final vote that he lost is he went up to the group of renegades and essentially said, "Hey, blah blah blah, do da 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 da." In fact, I have people who are good at lip reading, who are translating what was said. But
Oh.
effectively, what happened was that in agreement for whatever the last minute agreement, they agreed they would vote present, which lowered the threshold of what
Yeah.
he needed to get. So they didn't vote for him, but he managed to get speaker.
Right.
So there was last minute
That
deals
was
there.
that's what I was
and-
confused about. It's like, why was the threshold brought down? Because I think so he needed
Yeah, 'cause it's a
216
clear
and it was brought
majority-
down to 214 or 15, isn't it?
Of the votes cast.
Yeah,
Of the votes
right.
cast.
So the constitutional rule is the speaker has to be elected by a clear majority of the votes cast, not counting votes of present. So present basically is the
Cast
same
for
as
a
just not
person.
voting.
Yeah, cast for a person.
Oh, they're just like,
and
we're
then they
just
can
gonna
vote for
here to see
anyone.
the shit show.
Because the voter caucus, for example,
Also-
they were even nominating Donald Trump as member, because you
Right.
don't have to even vote for someone who
Yeah.
is a member. But
Yeah.
the damage is not the policy. The damage is that they have the means. They have the means to pull what McCarthy wants: power.
Mhm.
And easily do so. Now the question would be: let's say McCarthy doesn't decide to hold a crucial hearing at the border to do a stunt about immigration, or let's say McCarthy wants to compromise and not put the U.S. in default, and just take one member to say, I move, we vacate the chair. Is there a second? And they have a vote. Would the Democrats go along with it? Now remember, this is not like Parliament. If they
Right.
remove the speaker, it isn't as if they collapse the government. That just means they have another speaker election,
Right.
and we go through this whole mess over again.
Stuck in a loop.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we'll have to see where
Stuck
this
in a
goes.
matrix.
I'm sure we're gonna end up talking about this again sometime, not too far in the
Oh, yeah.
in the future. Sadly, I can't play you guys McCarthy's speech because last time I played a politician's speech on my channel, I got a community guideline strike. So
Oh god.
none of that
Fuck's sake,
for
Of course.
now. Yeah, it was when
Yeah.
I was
Like,
covering
Kevin
the.
McCarthy,
It was when I was covering the
you know,
6th. The
January 6th
insurrection.
riots,
Kevin
wasn't it?
McCarthy,
Yeah, insurrection.
you know better, and I hold you in higher contempt than Trump because you know better, and you're aiding and abetting the worst of, I think, in American political society, and I hold you responsible for what unfortunately is going to very likely happen out of this U.S. House.
Well, let's I think that's a good place to call it. Tell everybody who you are, where you're at, and where people can find you. We'll go Maanyaa, Landon, Dapper.
I'm Maanyaa. You can find me on Twitter sometimes, rage tweeting sometimes, maybe a couple of things.
She's leaving.
On the other hand, you can find me as a co-host on Dumbfact Friday and obviously on the Unnamed Tavern.
Yay!
And maybe once in a while
Yay.
on Debate Hub. I'm all over Shesh's channel, you can find me there. So, for now, I'm going away for 4 weeks back home. My brother's getting married, so I'm going to have lots of fun, hopefully.
Congrats.
And yeah, thank you. And it will be less tiring. So I will see you after 10th of February. So this is my last appearance.
But
And yeah, you might not even see me in the live chats and stuff because it's a full-on job to attend, the the marriage of your younger sibling. So yeah, it's going to be hell of a job. So I'll see you then. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Best wishes on the marriage, the ceremony stuff. It's a full-on job when it's well planned.
Even when it's well planned.
Yes.
Especially when it's well planned.
But all to say that the whole thing about marriage, the going back for the wedding is a cover, because she's really booping black holes. So if you look around Event Horizons of black holes, you might
Landon
find her
just blew my
time
cover.
dilated.
Come on, Landon.
Sorry. Trademark Canada.
We did get one other super chat from Vandalia before we move on to Landon for 5. He said, kind of off topic, but Logan probably got a big payment by fighting for WWE Championship in Saudi Arabia 2 months ago. Yeah, likely. There's that dude. The dude's got money. I know he's also got some kind of a lawsuit going on with fighter. What? Oh God, an MMA fighter. What's his name?
There's another fighter,
Connor. McGregor?
Connor, yeah.
McGregor. Yeah.
Connor.
Yeah, I don't know what the I haven't looked in too much of that deal to see what it actually is, but whatever. Logan Paul is quite the dive of nonsense. Thanks, Disney. Landon, who are you and where can we find you?
So I am an astronomer and planetary scientist. You can find me in the Our Favorite Universe Discord. You can find me on this channel as well as Volcano shows. I would encourage you to click the like button on this video if you haven't done so already, to become a member or a patron of Chess. Also, the other gentleman on over there, Dapper, I would encourage you to follow his channel and to become a patron of his, because he actually does a number of really interesting things. And the thing I admire about Dapper is his commitment and dedication to what he believes is things that are correct, right? He is not shy to correct something he thinks is wrong, and he often does so with an amazing amount of facts to back up his statement. So check out Dapper, check out Chess. And
thanks, Landon. My unfinished journey for 5, who was looking for Dapper, also to type in the chat so he could at you, but also send a super chat for 5 saying, Dapper, when and where are the first round of Cambrian bunnies? So who are you, Dapper? Where can we find you? And where's the damn Cambrian bunnies?
I will start with that. The Cambrian Bunny Awards is my award show for creationists.
Oh no.
The nominations should be later this month. I need to get with the science friend or the nominating committee and ask when at least enough of them, which basically means at least 2, will be available this month. I'm expecting it to be either next week, the week or the week after, hopefully. I can't promise that, but then a month or so following that will be the voting period, and then after that we will have the award show.
How long is the voting period?
In case you're unfamiliar, so the voting period runs for at least 1 calendar month.
Okay.
It may run longer. The way the voting works is it's actually similar to the DFOTY awards. So what I will do is I will have unlisted but available videos that you can hit like or dislike on. Although actually now that YouTube is making it weird to count dislikes, I might just say likes.
That's fair.
Hit like. So basically what you'll do is if you go to the nomination video, there will be a list of links of people for each award. And if you click on their video, it'll just be like a 10-second black screen, no audio. It just exists to accept likes. And you click like on that. And then whoever has the most likes in each category is the winner for that category. When voting closes, I will not technically announce it, but it will not be less than a calendar month. Once voting closes, and I talk back to the nominating committee, who will also be, primarily be the presenters. I'll schedule the award show. Last year, the nominating committee was myself, Jordan from Reasons to Doubt, and Dr. Dan from Creation Myths. They will be, of course, invited to submit their nominees, but they will not be the only people who are invited to do so. And so by the end of next month, you should have your 2022 Cambrian Bunny Award winners. We have categories like Worst Behaved Young Earth Creationist, Worst Abuse of the English Language by a Young Earth Creationist, Most Incoherent Young Earth Creationist, Best Creationist. That's actually a fairly hotly contested one. It usually goes between Peter from Paleologos, Sal Cordova, and Todd Wood, all of whom are they're the creationists who are
wholesome.
The most the one that tend to be very wholesome. You get very few complaints about them abusing anybody, but also they tend to be the ones who are the least likely to say that science is just lying to you, and that all this creation or evolution stuff is made up nonsense. They are the ones who recognize it, no, there's a lot of evidence for this. We just want to continue to disagree anyway.
I definitely like that there are categories.
Yeah. So I have a request. The request has been given, by the way, on your voting process. The thing was that the person was concerned that if they're clicking like on a video, it'll influence YouTube's algorithm to say they want that kind of stuff. And so they suggested that you title the video by the category and not by the content, so that their algorithm's not influenced. But I said I promised I would give that thing.
Yeah,
forward.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll take that into account. I think last year the video titles were something like hit like to vote for person for category. I might be able to change that up or put in the description more what you're voting for in order to not do that. But also, you're encouraged to hit like as many times on as many videos as you want. If you have 400 YouTube accounts, you can vote 400 times for your favorite candidate. I don't care. There's no monetary prize associated with this. No one gets anything.
If you have 400 YouTube accounts, please subscribe to my channel. Cool, thanks.
Yes.
There you go.
But so could I?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, that was it. I'm good. Go ahead, Lenny. What was your question?
I want to add just a PS that after this show, if you go to Chess's Discord channel on #food, you're going to see me making pizza.
Landon's bacon pizza. All right, so I will put a link.
It just occurred to me that whole. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just going to put a link to the Discord. Anybody can join the Discord. However, not everybody has access to everything. So if you want full access to the Discord, you will need to become a Patreon or a member. But otherwise, that's access to it.
It occurred to me that whole thing was actually just me answering the super chat. By the way, I'm Dapper Dinosaur. I run a YouTube channel. It's called The Dapper Dinosaur. You can find it on YouTube. I do usually 3 shows a week on that channel. There is usually, now I'm going to be stating Mountain Standard Time because living in Arizona, I don't bother with these silly time changes that the rest of you do. So, Mountain Standard, I have a show on Tuesdays, which starts at 6, which is Kent with Bent. Occasionally, when I have other people instead of Bent who live elsewhere, we do adjust it to take into account their weird time zones. But the standard is that it starts at 6 MST. On noon MST on Thursdays, I premiere a video. And then most Saturdays, virtually every Saturday, at noon MST, I have some kind of show. That varies between interviews. I've interviewed, my most recent interview was Chris Shelton, who also goes by the Skeptic at Large, former Scientologist, professional in coercive control and anti-authoritarian cult things. He is a consultant in that area. So I did that interview. That was on the weirdly pseudoscientific beliefs about things like the history of the universe in Scientology. Saturdays also are often just, I'll do like a reaction thing. Like today, I took a look at an ICR video, that's Institute for Creation Research, about irreducible complexity, in which they didn't bother to talk about irreducible complexity, which was weird.
It is weird.
So yeah,
Oh,
Saturday
man,
is sort of
yeah,
like
that
the
was
Dapper Variety Hour. And so
the
most of my
DFF of Dapper.
yeah, the Tuesday and Saturday shows generally run 2 hours. We did recently, though, do some 4-hour shows. We did my New Year's special for 4 hours where I tried to debunk things while also playing Dwarf Fortress, famously the most complicated game in the world. It was rough.
Yep.
But then we also did Kent with Bet
And
100.
drinking at the same time.
Yep.
Oh, and drinking, yep. Kent with Bet 100 went for almost 4 hours. So yeah, Dapper Dinosaur, if you want debunking pseudoscience, usually young Earth creationism, not always, but usually, yeah, check it out. It's a lot of fun for me, and also, you know, I like money, so if you watch my channel, I get more of that.
And understand, you know, that even if you, for example, don't agree with the pseudoscience stuff or the creationists, what Dapper does when the creationists say something stupid is very often he will explain to you what it really is. So you'll learn about facts. I mean, I'm not a biologist, I'm not a paleontologist, but I learn a lot by listening to the actual debunk. Because the debunking is not, he doesn't just say he says, here's the facts, here's the evidence.
Right.
And that's why you want to watch his show.
On average, it will only take you about 2 months of watching my channel to learn how to. Yeah, you learn some Klingon, and overall, after about 2 months of watching my channel, you too will now know how to define a dinosaur in a taxonomically relevant way. I promise.
Yay.
But I still I'm trying to understand what a kind is. I still haven't learned what a kind is.
Yeah, no, that's never going to happen. Good luck on that one.
We're never going to get out of this damn stream now that we spent 20 minutes telling everybody who we are, and 2 of us don't have channels. That's what I mean. 2 of us don't even have channels. I'm cutting you guys off. You've been drinking too much at the bar.
I've literally been drinking water.
Atomic Pumpkin, if you like spicy beer.
Very nice. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Like and subscribe and share. And if you see the rest of these lovely people on any other streams, please go and say hi from me to any of these lovely people at any point in time. Nice. All right. Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.